for us being able to be here with each other, to be able to do this. So I'd like for us tonight start out by just being present. First, feel and experience your presence. Then start to experience all the others who are present here with us. Try to really experience their presence. Not any particular person's presence, but the presence of everyone who is here, present with us, present with each other simultaneously. Just experience that presence. Totally be present to everyone's presence. Or just simply being present with everybody, feeling the power of presence, without being present to anything or anybody, but clearly present. Clearly be that, rest in that, bathe in that, immerse yourself in that. See, here, automatically, we're doing the practice of mind being mind without it being anything, without the concept of mind. Without the word mind. We don't need any description. We don't need any words to be the mind. because it is before anything. It always is. We don't know that, we don't experience that, because we become something other than mind. That's what being distracted is. Mind being something other than mind. When the mind is distracted, when the mind thinks it is this or that, that's what the whole practice of mind is. Simply preventing the mind from being what it is not. By just simply being the mind without being anything whatsoever, whichever way it can. So how do we do the practice of mind being mind? Find the mind that you experience, that you perceive, and you simply be that mind without focusing on that mind, with that mind not becoming an object of mind. Also, that mind not being or becoming anything, not going out towards anything, but simply being as you experience the mind, just to be that. Without any comment. It's important. No comment, no fabrication. Don't make the mind into anything. Just experience the mind and just be that. That's all. Or you can just simply observe the mind and you're automatically being that. We're being that. Also, we're becoming that simultaneously. We're being the gross mind that which we can perceive, but also we're starting to become the mind that which we can perceive, that empty mind, the subtle mind. self-existing mind. Don't forget, we want to become the mind. We want totally to become the mind. Because the mind's natural quality, what the mind is totally complete and perfect. It has everything, whatever we can imagine, whatever we can possibly want. That's why we spend all the time, total effort trying to realize the mind. Total effort to get the total fruit. Just remembering that fact, trusting that, really feeling that, having faith in that, will automatically start to empower the practice. So it's indisputable. We've all experienced the positive quality of the mind, one way or another, one time or another. So whatever positive quality that you've ever experienced, it's actually from the mind. It is the mind. We may think it's something else other than mind. That's because of thinking. But it is actually the mind. Its natural, inherent quality. Nothing can match that. That's why so many people totally devote their whole life trying to realize the mind. So in this present situation, a lot of us have anxieties about the virus, the uncertainty of the economy, uncertainty of our lives, our friends. When there is nothing to really take refuge in, you can start to take refuge in mind. Take refuge in mind, rest in mind. Automatically that will lessen the anxiety, lessen the pain, lessen the feeling of helplessness. Everything else changes. Everything is conditioned. Only thing which is not a thing, which is the mind or awareness, does not change. It's unconditioned, ever present, always there. The more you're established, the more you become familiar, the more it is there for you. But that can only happen by practicing. Practicing means start to be the mind, which is starting to be who you are, really are. That's the problem. Most of us are what really are not most of the time. We take refuge in our true nature when we start to be the mind. When we start to experience the mind. Of course, there's no end, there's no limit. Everything else is a dead end and is limited. This is how we can totally free ourselves, by starting to be the mind, which is ever free, ever complete. And we can start to experience the limitless power of mind by simply starting to see that mind is empty. It is not anything, but it is. It is everything without being anything or something. This is what we have to start to clarify through our own experience. Just remember this simple fact. When we start to be what we are not, we will automatically start to become what we are. We are lost because we think we are this or that. By simply being the mind, automatically we are not anything. Because the mind is empty. Its mind is not anything, but it is. Don't you notice? See, that's another thing that will help you practice. Just simply remembering that fact. Mind is absolutely not anything, but it still is. It very much is. We feel it, we experience it. There's no doubt. And we just start to rest in the mind not being anything. Just by being that, it will self-clarify itself. So that can't be clarified by the thinking or small mind. It can only be clarified by itself, by just being that, just simply being that. It will automatically start to clarify itself. Don't forget, we're still sharing our presence with each other. Not only sharing our presence with each other, we're communicating with each other at a different level. called empty communication. We can communicate with each other without communicating anything. The empty mind can communicate with empty mind without communicating anything. When we simply allow ourselves to just be, we're automatically allowing ourselves to be what others are. So when you allow yourselves to be as you are, so when I allow myself to be as I am, then we automatically meet, connect, or be. The empty mind, our true nature. We start to be that. We're starting to share that. We're starting to become each other without being anything. Don't think about it. Don't try to explain it. Don't try to clarify. Just simply allow yourself to intuitively start to experience that. All right. Any comments? Any disputes?
Hey, Brendan.
Yeah.
This is James from Lakewood, Colorado.
Yes, James.
Hello, Brendan. How are you tonight?
So well. How are you, James?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Well,
Hey, Brendan, I think we all need you to say all of that all again. It's
I
just
have such a bad memory. I don't even remember the first or last word. But it's being recorded. It's being recorded. So Julie can send you the recording.
No, actually, I do have a question. I would ask you kindly to maybe please clarify more about small mind
Okay,
and big mind.
good. Good question. So, I mean, the explanation of just no end to between small mind and big mind. But some of the differentiation is small mind is a limited mind. Okay? So if you want, you can write these down or it's going to be recorded anyway. Small mind is focused mind. Small mind is lost mind, lost in something. Small mind is the unfree mind. And of course, the big mind, the nature of mind, is totally free. Small mind is stuck on something. It's stuck on what it sees, perceives, feels, and experiences. Whereas the big mind is totally empty, it's totally free. It can't get stuck on anything because it's empty, totally open. Small mind is limited mind, whereas the big mind is totally unlimited. There's no limit. That's why nothing can be said about the big mind. That's why it is incomprehensible, inconceivable, unimaginable, indescribable. Small mind is the confused mind. Small mind is the deluded mind. So those are some of the things, some of the differences. I hope that gives you some perspective or some idea or some feeling, the difference between big mind and small mind. Okay?
Thank you. That was very helpful. Thank you very much.
Good.
Hey, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, good evening. Thank
Who?
you. This is Sarah.
Sarah?
Yes.
Oh, you were last time here, right?
Yes.
And you asked some questions. What's
Thank
your last name?
Broadbent.
Bra?
Broadbent. It says New Jersey and Colorado on there, but
Broadband?
yep.
Oh, broadband. Oh, cool. Yes, go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you so much. For the big mind, does the big mind still feel, but without like fixating onto it?
Mm-hmm. Big mind can't fixate. If it's fixating, it's not the big mind. Automatically. Big mind is the ever-present mind, totally free mind. It's not fixated on anything. It's not anything. Yet it is everything. Big mind doesn't need to fixate on anything because it sees everything. Small mind fixates because it can't see everything. It thinks it can see better when it fixates, when it focuses.
So it's not that the big mind doesn't feel, it just doesn't fixate on the feeling. Is that what you're saying?
Repeat that again.
So are you saying that the big mind still feels, but it doesn't fixate on the feeling?
Exactly. It perceives, it feels, experiences everything without any limitations, without any barriers. Okay? That's why Buddha is unlimited, omniscient. Because that's what the mind is. That's what the mind itself is. That's what we're trying to realize. That's what we're trying to clarify when we say mind. And it's beyond heaven or hell. It's much greater than what you could imagine the heaven might be. When you realize that the heaven that you think that your heaven is just a small piece. It's just like nothing compared to what it really is. As he would say, it puts the heaven that you think it is to shame. This is how we start to clarify the mind. You guys start asking questions. Also to yourself, what the hell is mine? I'm feeling mine, I'm experiencing mine. What is it? And what is the difference between mind and not mind? You see, these are the things that you can start asking questions. Don't worry about whether you're going to be right or wrong. This is how we start. It's so much better and clearer and more effective if you can clarify this through your own effort by asking the question instead of somebody giving you a ready-made answer. And that's what large part of the practice should be. Really, someone who really wants to realize they're really investigating to see what the mind is. Even Buddha said, don't take my word for it. You got to prove it to yourself through your own experience. Taking my word for it is not going to help you that much. It'll help you to get to where you want to go. But in terms of really realizing, not so much. So hopefully the meditation we did Maybe it wasn't consciously clear to a lot of you, but subconsciously, hopefully, I have planted a seed and started to influence your mind. We're sharing my experience, sharing your experience. We're sharing each other.
Thank you, Brendan. This is Janet.
Janet?
Janet. When we first started, I was very much focused and very involved in small mind. And I just want to thank you for helping me tonight to kind of break that small focus.
You're not the Janet from Miami, are you?
No.
Oh, you're another Janet. Are
Different.
you from Denver?
Yes. Yes, I'm from Denver.
Let me see. Where are you? Raise your hand. Oh, okay. Good. You have to excuse me. My cataract is so bad, I have to use a magnifying glass or whatever. They were going to do the operation and they canceled everything, so it's just been getting worse. I'm forced to look at my mind more than all the objects, which is a good thing. So start to intuitively try to access some of the things that I've said tonight. Intuitively, rationally, whichever way you can. So any other questions? So then everything is clear, right?
Brendan,
Yes.
this is James again.
Yeah, James.
Could you possibly discuss the difference? Okay, so there's the small mind and the big mind.
Right.
And discuss with that the difference between the focus and unfocus.
Great. But in order to answer that, I got to go and pee first, okay? So excuse me. So any of you have to go, you're welcome to go, to the bathroom or leave or whatever. So it's a great question, James. So I was trying to subliminally get you to ask that question. What is the difference between focused mind and unfocused mind, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. First of all, I want you to tell me what is the difference. I want you to do the practice and everybody else. Pick an object. Look at that object as you normally look at that object. When we normally look at something, we focus on the object. Okay? So when you become clear or familiar with that, so look at that same object without focusing. Non-focusingly see that object. And I want you to tell me what the difference is. How do you experience the two? Are they the same or
No,
are they different?
they're different.
How are they different?
The unfocused, I would call it a state of mind.
Right?
Two things. One is the object begins to dissolve and basically disappear. And then my second observation is I begin to feel different, a different feeling, a lighter, more blissful, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Good. Anybody else? I want everybody else to do the practice too, This is a great practice. So I want to point out one thing to you, James. When you start to not focus, I want you to really notice that object does not disappear because you're so used to seeing the existence in terms of focusing. When you stop focusing, you think you're not seeing that object, but you're actually still seeing that object. But you're not seeing that object as anything. You're not seeing that object as separate or different from the mind. You're not seeing the demarcation of that object from its surrounding. But the object does not disappear. So I want you to go back and do it again and see if I'm right or wrong. See if I'm BSing you or not. And others can do the same thing. What happens when you focus? And what happens when you don't focus? Do you see the difference? Or is it not any different?
It's more I experience the difference. But I'm not mature enough to, on the second one, to unfocus, to really put it into any kind of language, what's going on.
Right, because we're not used to that. That's right. But I want you to tell me, when you stopped focusing on that object, you said first that object disappeared. But when you look at the object and not focus, does that object actually disappear?
No, it's
What?
still there.
Exactly. It disappears in the way that you're used to seeing that object. That's what disappears. What disappears is something separate or different. What disappears is it's no longer a thing. That's what disappears. But the object doesn't disappear. So what you're seeing is not limited. When you focus, it automatically starts to become limited. Because you only see what you're focusing on. You may be focusing on the color, notice the color, you may notice the shape. So we start to notice all these things, then automatically it becomes limited. But you see or you experience the freedom, the difference when you don't focus. When the mind doesn't focus on anything, it can automatically start to be what it is, not anything. That's what's so great and simple about this practice, non-focusing. It's a great practice for an idiot like me. Anybody else?
Hey, Brendan, it's Carl.
Yes.
Just a little more clarification on the unfocused thing, because I'm confused by some of the language.
Yeah.
When you're talking about unfocused, you're not talking about just a visual unfocus with the eyes relaxed and the object becomes blurred because you're not visually focusing on it, right? You're talking about a different thing.
What do you mean a different thing?
It's not just becoming visually unfocused, right? It's a perception, mental perception of the object
Right.
rather than
Yeah.
visual.
All right. First
I've had
answer
very
me this. Go ahead.
small experiences, and like James said, you can't really describe it, but suddenly I realized that there's a unification of what's perceiving and the thing that's being perceived, but it's very short. Couldn't even positively say it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what you're talking about, I think, right? It's not just the visual unfocus, it's a mental unfocus.
So how do you separate those two? Tell me.
Well, when I first started the unfocused observation.
No, I'm asking you, how do you focus the mind from the the physical.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understood the question.
How do you separate, as you did, the mind from the way you're seeing what you're seeing?
You mean the mental, what I said, the mental from the visual?
Yeah, how do you
that what you're
separate the
asking?
visual from the mental?
Well, I mean, the visual, I can lose visual focus on anything, but
You can what?
I can lose visual focus on
Right,
anything just by relaxing my eyes, right?
right.
That's why I think it's not quite what you're talking about, because there's still duality. There's just a bunch of blurry things out there in my mind instead of focused, sharp images out there in my mind.
So when you don't focus, where's the duality?
What I think you're saying is when you don't focus, there is no duality.
Is what?
There is no duality.
Exactly. It
don't-
starts to be
yeah.
non-dual because there's the demarcation line of duality disappears.
Right.
When you start to focus, that's where the separation, demarcation starts, when you focus, because you get stuck on that.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me clarify that.
Yeah. What else do you experience when you don't focus? Is it better? Is it more positive or
Hard to describe because it's so very, very short.
right? Well, you see, you're just getting the taste.
I got to practice.
Yeah. You see, you're not going to change overnight. This is a whole new way of seeing. So if we can see non-focusingly, now look at it. If we can start to see non-focusingly, number one, we're not going to be stuck in anything. We're not going to get upset. Why do we get upset when we see something that we don't like? Huh? We're focused and we don't like that. So if you don't focus, it can't bother you. The same way that when you focus, it's like when you hate somebody so much. I mean, you're so focused. Then what happens when you stop to focus on the object that you so dislike? That disliking will start to lessen and change. You should check this out for yourself. Pick somebody that you really don't like, and you will automatically start to focus. That's why we get affected the way we do. When we focus on the object that, brings us unpleasantness. Look at that same object. Then start to apply the non-focusing. Don't stop focusing on that object. And see if that unpleasantness, negative feeling, see if that changes at all. Is it still the same when you focus on it? Then when you're not focusing on it? So those of you planning to come next meeting, I want you to, this is your homework. If you're not coming back, then you're absolved from the homework. You're free from the homework. So check that out, Carl. Get into it. Get into this practice more. Okay? It's a simple, but the potential is can be huge.
Hey, Brandon,
Yes.
I have a question here for you.
Actually, Mateus and Barbara, Matt's had his hand up for quite a while, even though maybe you guys can't see it, but he's been
Yeah,
waiting to
yeah,
go
Matthias
next.
and Barbara.
So Matt is
How
probably
are you, Barbara?
okay. Matt, you're after Mateus and Barbara. Sorry.
Well, I haven't seen you. I heard you were real sick.
Yes, I'm getting better slowly.
Good.
Thanks, Brendan. Sorry, Matt. I have a question about you're saying about what is not mind, and I'm confused by that.
All right.
Because mind, like the big mind, if that's awareness and absolute,
Very good.
it's not the mind.
Good question. Very good question. So that allows me to further clarify what I mean by mine and not mine. Can anybody answer that? All right, then I'll try. First of all, as I said over before, right, Barbara? Everything is mine. You remember me saying that?
Yes.
Only if the mind is not anything. If the mind is empty, then automatically the mind is everything. Okay? So when the mind is not empty, then what the mind sees is becomes something. So it becomes something other than mine, which is separate than mine, different than mine. That's what I mean by not mine. Mine being lost in the object is not mine. That's what I mean. Everything is mine, one way or the other. But I'm just describing the way I use not mine and mine. Okay? Does that clarify? Barbara, is that clear?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yes. Yeah, it is clear. So you're saying those are the thoughts and projections and etc. That is separates the mind, right?
Right. Then it's not mine. You see, that's how I'm using it.
Okay. Thank you.
The object, when we focus, it's no longer mine. When the mind gets lost in the object, mind thinks it's the object. That's what I mean.
Mm.
Of course, the mind is, you can't separate the mind from the object. Mind cannot be separated from anything, really, when you really look at it. That's why I say over and over, if there was no mind, there would be absolutely nothing.
Okay. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked that question. See, this is what I want, you know.
Matt, you're up.
Hmm?
It's Matt's turn, Brendan.
Who? Who's talking?
Matt should be talking, Brendan, but it's for some reason he's not. He's unmuted, but we can't hear him.
Who?
Matt.
Oh. Is he on the phone or what?
I don't know. Oh, I see you, Matt. Matt, are you connected to, are your speakers working? We can't hear you. I can see you. I see you're talking, but we can't hear you.
Where is he?
He's in one of the squares. His video is on, Brendan.
Wave your hand.
Oh, now he's frozen.
You're hopeless. Frozen.
Frozen.
Muted.
Saying, he just texted to say next time then. He'll ask next time.
Well, you can text the question.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So text the question. Meanwhile, anybody else any other questions? Go ahead.
Sarah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I'm sorry, I feel horrible for yet another question, but maybe it's these other ones people have been saying have been so helpful. So is there a way to like focus or concentrate in shamatha without the focusing we're talking about here?
Mm-hmm. Sure. But we have to start out by focusing, most of us, when we start the shamatha practice, okay? So we usually pick an object and we usually keep our mind or concentration on that particular object. That's focusing. The more the mind can remain in that object, more it can remain as that object without focusing. So that's why Mingyur Rinpoche says it's like it becomes open awareness, not focusing on awareness. Open mind without focusing on mind. That's what happens. When the mind is stabilized, it no longer needs to exert any effort to maintain what it is attending to. That's what the meditative stabilization means. Okay? In the beginning, you have to focus, most of you.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
But then we can use the awareness as the object of shamatha, which is not anything, but that's more difficult. Usually when we do the shamatha, we start out with an object, something more definite, easier to concentrate on, easier to see. Okay?
Yep. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a typed question from Matt, Brendan.
Okay.
Matt's wondering what this may have to do with the difference between the mind and the brain.
Okay. It's not a simple question or answer. And we have in the West, we have a tendency to mix up or confuse mind with the brain. Okay. Mind is related to the brain, but mind is not the brain. Mind can exist without the brain. That's probably opposite to what most of you think. Of course, the gross mind, most of us are familiar with, is related to the brain and depends on the brain. But there is mind that does not depend on the brain. And you also have to remember, I don't know, most of you are not probably familiar with this. When the mind leaves, there's no reason for the body to continue. So in a way, mind supports the body and body supports the mind. Most of the Westerners think that there's no difference between mind and the brain. Mind is totally insubstantial. Brain is something. We can relate or correlate between brain and different states of the mind. So in that way, conceptually, there is a relationship between mind and the brain. But I'll let the scientists, the neurologists, the brain people to clarify it and work with that. And maybe probably some of the scientists are probably, how can we manipulate the brain so you can become totally awakened? What kind of operation can we do? How can we restructure the brain so you can achieve the state of total omniscience? So, I'm not against that. In fact, I'd be first one in line if they can achieve that. Mind is beyond everything. Just remember that. Mind, I say this over and over, but this is a good thing to remember, to really memorize, because it can be helpful when you're practicing the mind, trying to clarify the mind. Mind is the source of everything. As I said before, if there was no mind, there wouldn't be anything. You can conceptually and fabricatingly say, oh yes, the mind will still be there, but that's just mere assumption. Mind is the source of everything, and mind is everything, is very part of everything. Nothing can be separate from mind. Okay? See that? And also, mind is beyond everything. That's why it is said in the Heart Sutra, beyond, beyond, beyond the beyond. That's what it means. It is everything, but it's beyond everything. Doesn't make sense, does it? It's not supposed to. Because the big mind, the nature of mind is beyond everything. If it made sense, and then it would not be the big mind.
Brendan, there's a question from Rob in the chat.
Rob who?
Rob Lamb. Rob, wave your hand.
I see him.
Do
Can you talk?
you want to ask your question yourself, Rob?
Yeah.
Come on, Rob. Don't be shy.
Awesome.
Don't be shy.
So the question came from an earlier question, and it is not mind the same as small mind?
Good question. Yes, because there's no such thing as not mine. Only the small mind can create that and think of that. That's why it's small mind. Big mind, that would never enter. When big mind, everything is mine. What need is there to not mine? Okay?
All right.
All right, Rob. Keep trucking.
Brendan, Tara has a question next.
Hi, Brendan.
Yeah.
Earlier this evening, I heard you invite us all to tune into the presence of everyone here together tonight.
Who's speaking?
This is Tara.
Oh, okay. I'm looking up there. Okay, go ahead.
So earlier this evening, I heard you invite us all to tune into the presence of everyone being here together tonight.
Right.
So that's the first time I've heard you say that in a teaching quite like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, were you trying to help us? Were you trying to point out that we're all together in the experience of big mind ultimately, the mind that's beyond everything?
Yeah, we're trying to connect with each other through the big mind. We automatically connect. When we don't have the separation with the small mind, then we automatically start to connect with each other with the empty big mind. And I just wanted to point out how we are related, how we are so much alike. We are so much one. We don't see that because we only see the separation. That true oneness comes from emptiness. When you see that everything is empty, not separate, you really start to be one. It's emptiness that really automatically brings us together, makes us one. See that? That's why when you realize emptiness, you automatically become everyone and everything. That's why Ramana Maharshi, no matter who came to him, how deluded they were, he would see them as totally awakened. Even though they weren't awakened, but to him they were awakened because he was only seeing their true nature. He wasn't seeing all the crap. Doesn't mean he didn't see those things, but he did. But not in terms of crap. You see, that's beyond the small conceptual mind. And you can only clarify that by being there, being that. Yeah,
That-
you know,
It's so incredible. I can't even find the words for that.
that's a good sign. Not being able to find words is a good sign. If you're a real practitioner. Because if you don't really practice, then it doesn't mean much. But if you really practice and you can't find the word, but you start to experience, then that's a good sign. Remember, it's inconceivable, inexpressible, incomprehensible. As I say over and over, don't just dismiss the incomprehensibility, inconceivability. Maybe you can take a moment, just force yourself to take a moment to start to see what that is. What does that feel like? So usually your small conceptual mind dismisses that. This is totally off limits. So you drop it. You never try to see what it is. That's your small mind making the decision. So stop taking orders from your small mind. Okay? And one important related to small mind, big mind, if you ask the question to yourself, am I awakened or am I not awakened? So most probably you'll say, I'm not awakened. Who's saying that? Is the big mind saying that you're not awakened? Or is it the small mind? Most probably it's the small mind that immediately says, you're not awakened. I'm not saying when you stop listening, taking orders from the small mind, that you're going to automatically become awakened. It will start to change your habits. There's more room to be not so determined, structured, limited. Remember, this present mind, which you experience right now, If it's not anything whatsoever, it's the pure mind, totally awakened mind. See, this is not the practice like for Hinayana or most of the other vehicles. It's perfectly acceptable to take orders, listen to the small mind to make the decisions. But in the practice of innate great perfection, we stop taking orders from the small mind. All right, we'll end here.
Brendan, thank you so much.
What?
I said thanks. It's Tracy. I
Well,
wanted
let me
to.
ask you, who's thanking me, the small mind or the big mind?
Well, a second ago, before I talked, it was the big mind, but then the small mind kicked in. The manager kicked in.
Okay. All right.
So first I had no words, and then I just wanted to thank you again for hosting Thursday nights these last few weeks. Hopefully we can entice you to come back and talk with us and guide us again. But we'll see what life has in store. Christina will teach next week on Thursday for all of you guys who are here. And I wanted to mention one little Zoom tech thing. Julie found this weekend that if you're having sound issues, it could be that you need to update your Zoom app. So see if you're running the latest version of Zoom, right, to see if that fixes any of the sound problems that you might have on some of these calls. Yeah, and Brendan, would you guide us in dedicating the merit in
Sure.
our own way?
Sure.
Go for it.
I'm trying to see who's here. All right. By the power of this practice, may our real enemies, our confusion and misdeeds from our ignorance be totally overcome and our true nature fully realized, so that we may free beings from miseries of delusions, afflictions, negative emotions, anger, and fear. The endless stormy waves of samsara. May the pure and brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion, unstoppably until all are fully illumined and awakened.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for coming. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Tracy and Brendan.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Chime.
Thank you.
Bye, Yola. I see you.